So UFC 284 has wrapped up, and I celebrated the great evening by going to the pub with my mate, and I've had a couple of sups. So just a pre-warning, this is my Keon Kimura, how well will Davison Figueiredo do at bantamweight video, or if you haven't seen it, Keon Kimura is absolutely trolleyed. So this is my version of that. So UFC Fight Night Andrade versus Blanchfield is coming up, and I'm looking forward to the card. As always, I will be doing a live fight companion for the card. BetUS link, 125% sign up bonus as always. But let's get into it. Jamal Almond versus Hussein Escobar. I'm really looking forward to this fight. It's Hussein Escobar's UFC debut. He's a good fighter. He's 23-0. He's got a crazy good record, as you guys can see. And but the problem with him is like he hasn't really fought like the really best competition in the world. He's had a couple of cancelled fights trying to get into the UFC, but he's a good finisher. He's a good striker. He's a good grappler. He's very well rounded. But as I said, he hasn't really fought the best guys, and he hasn't fought since 2020, which is a little bit of a question mark, dude. Like he's fought so much. He's 23-0. He hasn't fought since 2020. He hasn't fought in 3 years, but he's still a 27-year-old young guy. And maybe if they give him the right matchups, they could really build this guy into like a 25-0, 26-0, 27-0 beast. But he's fighting Jamal Emmers, who's a good fighter. I really mid Jamal Emmers for having really bad fight IQ against Pat Sabatini, because from memory, I think he dropped Pat Sabatini and then he went for his own like leg clock against Pat Sabatini and then get heel hooked himself. Something like that happened, but he's actually a pretty good fighter himself too. But I'm going to go with Hussein Escobar here. I'm wondering what the odds are for the fight actually. Hopefully I can find the odds for this fight, because I'm very interested to know what's the hype on Hussein Escobar, especially in the odds. Have they been released? Hussein Escobar, very slight favourite. Interesting. I think that's fair, to be honest. We don't know how he's going to look after 3 years. Good fight. Fun fight. I'm looking forward to it. AJ Fletcher versus Themba Gorimbo. I'm going with AJ Fletcher in this one here. AJ Fletcher's a very exciting fighter. But so is Themba Gorimbo, dude. Themba Gorimbo got signed to the UFC off only one win. He's on a one-fight win streak over Julio Rodriguez, where I think he got taken down a couple of times in the fight. But this guy's got really good offense, man. Themba Gorimbo. He's a very offensive fighter, but he's not really that defensive. And it's kind of similar to AJ Fletcher, dude. He kind of very offensive fighter, not the most defensive in the world as well. So it's going to be a banger, dude. These guys are going to meet in the middle of the octagon, and they're going to throw down, guys. It's going to be a fun fight. This might be fight of the night. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be an interesting fight. AJ Fletcher got signed off Dana White's Contender Series, then he lost to Matt Semmelsberg in a close fight. Angelusa in a close fight. Almost finished Angelusa, but the thing about AJ Fletcher is that you do have to worry about is his cardio. Not really because he's got bad cardio, because he kind of like throws everything out there in the first round, sometimes in the second round as well, and then he's really slowed down in the third round. But it's going to be a fun fight. I think there's going to be a finish on either side. Fletcher by decision is what most people are picking. I might go with Fletcher by finish in this fight, to be honest. I like Fletcher. I think he should be able to win the fight. Minus 240 favourite. Maybe a little bit wide in the odds, but we'll find out on fight night if it's going to go on. And just letting you guys know, I do a live stream during every fight card. Did I say that already? I do a live stream during every fight card. So I'm going to be doing a live stream during this card. So I will be on my live channel, on my YouTube channel, live streaming on Sunday, next Sunday during the events, because the fights are on Sunday. So Ovin St. Preux's taking on Felipe Lins. And both guys are pretty old. Like Ovin St. Preux's like almost 40 years old. Pretty low volume striker at this point in his career. Still got power in the hands. Felipe Lins as well. Older guy, very successful PFL fighter. Then he come into the UFC and he lost a couple of fights, but he beat Marcin Prachnio. But Marcin Prachnio, as we all know, not really anything too special, in my opinion anyway. There's no odds for this one that I can see. Oh, there is. Sorry, Felipe Lins is a big favourite. Interesting. I also have Felipe Lins in the matchup, so I think I'm picking all the favourites so far. I've got Lins by finish. No, sorry, by decision. I don't think he can finish Ovin St. Preux. Ovin St. Preux is a pretty tough guy still. He has been KO'd, but that's by Tanner Boser at heavyweight, and Jamal Hill at who's the champion as well. So I think that it's going to go the distance. I think Felipe Lins might win this one. I'm looking forward to it. It should be a fun scrap. Lena Landsberg taking on Mayra Bueno Silva. Mayra Bueno Silva's coming off a pretty impressive fight recently where she beat Stephanie Egger by armbar, which is quite cool. I remember it being really weird though. Like she got the armbar, And then I think like the ref stepped in before a tap, and like Stephanie Eger didn't know what to do, or maybe she tapped or something. I can't even remember. But Mayra Silva, very good submission win over Stephanie Eger, and she's fighting Lena Landsberg, who came back after about 2 years, and she's about 40 years old. I don't know, maybe this is like a midlife crisis thing for her right now, trying to fight in the UFC and make something out of her career, but I think it's too late. You're almost 41 years old at women's bantamweight. You know, a lot of women's fighters retire in the mid-30s, but Lena Landsberg seems to think she's still got it. Lena Landsberg's got very good ground and pound, which is why she calls herself the elbow queen. I think Mayra Silva's probably going to submit her in the first 2 rounds, to be honest, and she's almost minus 400 for that reason, so I think that makes sense. I think I've got Mayra Silva by submission in the first 2 rounds, but minus 400 favourite's pretty wide, but I do think she should get it done. This is a fun fight, and I'm actually looking forward to it. I've got Clayton Carpenter. I'm actually a very big fan of Clayton Carpenter. He's actually a really cool fighter, really cool dude, and he's very intense. He's very committed to the game. He's very committed to his art, and like he is 100% a professional mixed martial artist. Like this guy is dialed in, you know what I'm saying? Like he's into it. And look at this, look at all of the things that he's won. All of these things that he's won in grappling and pancration and in striking as well. He's just really, really good at kind of everything, and he puts it all together in MMA. And to be honest, man, he had a pretty tough scrap with Eryk Chairez. Like it was kind of one of those fights where like Eryk Chairez showed up, and I feel like maybe, I don't know for sure, but I feel like maybe Clayton Carpenter might have underestimated Eryk Chairez in that fight, because Eryk Chairez came out to scrap in the first round, and then Clayton Carpenter like took him down a couple of times in the second and third round and won the fight that way. Now he signed to the UFC and won Camilo Randeros, a guy you should respect. Okay, you see that the guy's 4-1, but he took on David Vujak, on 1 day's notice, and of course he missed weight. He took the fight on 1 day's notice, and then since then I think he's been injured a couple of times, which is very unfortunate for him. But now he's coming back against Clayton Carpenter, and he's a good fighter himself. Very good kickboxer, and he's actually a good grappler as well. I think one Camilo Randeros can win fights in this UFC flyweight division, which is a very strong, very stacked division, but I do think Clayton Carpenter should win this one. I'm interested in the odds because I feel like they might be very wide. Minus 300 for Clayton Carpenter. I can understand that, but I think you're disrespecting one Camilo Randeros a little bit. One Camilo Randeros is a good fighter. I think Carpenter does beat him though, but I think maybe Randeros, if he loses this fight, probably fights Shannon Ross, you know what I mean? Or maybe JT Bays. This next fight's a good one, and I'm looking forward to it. Nazim Sadikov, another UFC debut from Nazim Sadikov. Far out. Talking uses up a lot of oxygen. Nazim Sadikov, he's a good fighter. You know, he's 7-1. Fought on Dana White's Contenders. This is going to be such a fucking funny video. Oh my god, you guys are going to love this video. Oh, we're going to continue. Nazim Sadikov, he's a good fighter. He's a good striker. That's kind of what he does. He's a striker who knocked out Ahmed Hussein Hassanzada, who's a good fighter himself. He's a tough dude too. He was taking bombs from Nazim Sadikov the whole fight. Very good chin on that guy, so maybe if he wins a couple of fights, he should come back to the UFC. Evan Elder's a good fighter too. 7-0, he fought on Preston Parsons on short notice, upper weight class. Good for him. He hasn't really fought anyone that good. Evan Elder's a good fighter, but I think that Nazim Sadikov's going to have a striking advantage in this fight, because Nazim Sadikov, very good striker. You see this guy like switching stances. You see him in the pocket. He's got eyes in the pocket, you know what I'm saying? Like, not a lot of fighters have those eyes in the pocket. Like, Jack Della Maddalena's got the eyes in the pocket. I think Nazim Sadikov does too. Very slight favourite for Nazim. I think he's going to get a knockout over Evan Elder. Sadikov, very good striker. Sometimes he tries to wrestle a little bit, sometimes. But I think he's better off being the striker. So I'm going to go with him by striking. Jim Miller versus Alexander Hernandez. This fight was literally announced either today or yesterday, one of the two. Lightweight fight, short notice fight for Alexander Hernandez. Alexander Hernandez, man, maybe if he loses this one, does he get cut from the promotion? Even though it's a short notice fight, I feel like even if he loses, he probably should stay in the promotion because it's short notice. But this is going to be a tough fight for both guys. I like it. I think it's going to be a fun scrap. Jim Miller, at the prime age of 39 years old, is taking on some tough dudes like Eryk Gonzalez and Nicholas Motta and winning. Alexander Hernandez, in my opinion, might be a little bit of a step up in competition from those guys, but he's shown to be maybe like a little bit, I don't know what I would call it, like not fragile, but he's definitely been getting touched. Maybe his striking defense still isn't like got there up there, you know what I mean? And Billy Q kind of exposed it a little bit, so did Renato Moicano, but Renato Moicano is an absolute beast. Where is he, dude? I want to see him fight again. But, oh, dude, I might have Jim Miller. Maybe when I'm sober, I'll change my pick, but I've got Jim Miller in this fight, and there are odds, and he's the underdog. Yes, I've got an underdog pick on the card. That's pretty fun. But, yeah, maybe talk to me when I'm sober about that one. That would be a good one. Josh Parisian taking on Jamal Pogues. I'm picking Jamal Pogues here. Jamal Pogues fought in his Dana White's Contender Series fight Paulo Renato Jr. on like a week's notice after not fighting for 2 years. And honestly, dude, no disrespect to Jamal Pogues, but he came out there looking like me, dude. Like, I'm a big boy, but I wasn't as big as Jamal Pogues was on that night, for sure. And I just don't know if Jamal Pogues was, like, taking his MMA too seriously, and he came out and he won. And now that he's in the UFC, I think he's going to start taking his MMA seriously. And I'm really happy that he's at heavyweight, because I think he would be a much, much better heavyweight than light heavyweight. I think he's got a higher potential here, and he's got a good jab, which is kind of all he threw against Paulo Renato Jr., to be fair. He kind of like only threw the jab. But Josh Parisian, he's nothing too special in my opinion. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Josh Parisian, when he fought Alain Bardot, he was getting hurt by Alain Bardot on the feet. And Alain Bardot strikes like this. He throws hammer fists standing. I don't understand what Alain Bardot is doing. I don't understand how Cyril Gane arguably beat Francis Ngannou while having Alain Bardot as his main training partner. That is like amazing skill for Gane. But Jamal Pogues, dude, to beat Josh Parisian, you've just got to be not terrible. So I think that the greatest heavyweight of all time, I think he's gonna do it, dude. I forgot his name already. Jamal Pogues. He's a favorite. Oh, I thought he might be the dog. It's okay. It's Pogues by decision, in my opinion. And Pogues is a good wrestler. We didn't see that wrestling at all in Dana White's Contender Series, which was weird. But I think he should win. William Knight versus Marcin Prachnio. I didn't even know this fight was on the card, but you learn new things every day. I'm going with William Knight by KO in this matchup, dude. Marcin Prachnio is just not a guy that impresses me all that much, dude. I can't remember much about Marcin Prachnio because, as I said, I didn't know this fight was even on the card. But from what I remember, dude, I think he's pretty hittable. And if you're pretty hittable against a big man like William Knight, who fought, like, weighed in at 250 pounds for that heavyweight fight against Jevon Clark, which is just a weird fight, he's got to lose a lot of weight and a lot of muscle for that fight. Maybe I thought maybe at that point, if you're weighing at 250 pounds, just commit to heavyweight. But I think, dude, I think he's going to beat Marcin Prachnio by KO. Like, Mike Rodriguez knocked him out. Magomed Ankalaev knocked him out. He got lost to Felipe Lins, who's on this card. I got Knight by KO. Is he the favorite in the matchup? I think he probably is, to be honest. I can't see. I can't see. Oh, William Knight's the underdog. I like that dog pick. I think he's going to win by KO, so that's a good fight pick in my opinion. Zach Puaga versus Jordan White. This is a weird fight in my opinion. Zach Puaga, I feel like they're using Jordan White to build up Zach Puaga, but I think it's a little bit of a weird one because Zach Puaga is like 35 years old. Like, this guy's probably going to retire in 2 years, you know what I mean? Like, I don't see him sticking around in the UFC for another 10 years time, you know what I'm saying? Unless he's like Glover Teixeira reincarnated. But what I think is going to happen is I think Zach Puaga is going to beat Jordan Wright. I think Jordan Wright's going to have success on the feet like he always does, and he's just going to gas out. Another little wrinkle that we saw was he fought Dusko Todorovic, and he used his wrestling, and then he gassed. Oh, so he gassed out. He just gassed out. He literally gassed out. That's literally what he does. He gasses out, and he loses. And that's what's going to happen. I think he's going to gas out against Zach Puaga, and Puaga's going to knock him out in the second round, so Puaga in the matchup. It's a weird one though, because Puaga's like in the co-main event, and he's 35. Like, he's gonna retire in 2 years. UFC, this is not like a worthy investment, man. Zach Puaga, like, what are you gonna do? Get a little bit of hype off him? I think what we do is we put Hussein Escobar in the co-main event. He's 23-0, and if he wins, you could build him up as like a huge prospect. But Puaga by KO in the second round after Wright maybe wins the first round, but just gasses out completely while doing it. So this is the one. And now Jessica Andrade stepping in on like a week's notice to fight Erin Blanchfield. Big respect to Jessica Andrade. Didn't see this coming. Didn't see Tyler Santos coming. Falling out coming. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think Tyler Santos was going to pull out of the fight. But here's what I think, guys. Honestly, I think that Jessica Andrade, I thought she was going to fight at strawweight against Carla Esparza in her next fight. But now she's fighting Erin Blanchfield, like, next weekend on a week's notice. So, that's pretty cool. I really like Erin Blanchfield, though. Like, I think she's a really good wrestler. Her striking does need work. I'm going to say it right now. Her striking does need work. We have seen her getting pieced apart on the feet. I think it was JJ Aldrich or Miranda Maverick. One of the two that had a lot of success on the feet. I think it was JJ against Erin Blanchfield, and kind of exposed that Erin Blanchfield may not have the best striking in the world. But guess what? It does not matter. Erin Blanchfield's wrestling and grappling is very good. She completely destroyed Molly McCann, which is what I said she would do. So big ups to me, because some people were picking Molly McCann in that matchup, and honestly, I think they made themselves look a little bit silly. But Jessica Andrade, on short notice, dude, she's the way better striker in the fight. She's super short too. But Erin Blanchfield's not too tall either. She's 5'4", so she can probably shoot for takedowns against Jessica Andrade and probably get them, you know. But Andrade is a good fighter. She's fought literally anyone and everywhere. She's on a good win streak too. She destroyed Lauren Murphy. Probably took 5 years off the life of Lauren Murphy. But I think Erin Blanchfield gets takedowns and uses her wrestling and control time. And I think... What's Erin Blanchfield's cardio like? Does anyone in the comment section know? I think it should be pretty good, right? Like, she's got a full camp, and Jessica Andrade is on short notice. So maybe Jessica Andrade doesn't have the 5 rounds of cardio. I think we see, Blanchfield might be the underdog. She is the underdog. I've got Erin Blanchfield in this matchup. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think she gets it done over Andrade. She's got the full camp. She's got a good wrestling. She's not as good at striking. In fact, if she messes around on the feet for too long, I'm going to be honest, she could get knocked out because her striking is just not that good, especially at the super high level that Jessica Andrade is. But in my opinion though, I think Jessica Andrade is a better striking, but I think Erin Blanchfield's a better wrestling and grappling. And I think she might be able to get a finish over Jessica Andrade, because it's not like we didn't see Valentina Shevchenko get a finish from Crucifix, which is the position Erin Blanchfield put Molly McCann in. So I'm thinking we might see something similar again. And I think Erin Blanchfield is going to show off some really good wrestling and grappling. Should I upload this video? I probably shouldn't. Like, I don't know. Yeah, that's my opinion. And remember, guys, it's my opinion as well. A lot of people don't understand that. But this is a interesting poster. That was the original poster, so hopefully they change it, because I don't really think that's a good poster. You know what I mean? But Erin Blanchfield's a good fighter. She's a really good fighter. I think she's a future champion. But the problem is, if she beats Jessica Andrade, does she get the title shot now? I think she probably still does, because if she beat Taylor Santos, I think they would have just given her the title shot. And she would have probably been the second youngest UFC champion in history. So that's kind of cool. And I respect that. I think Erin Blanchfield's a cool fighter. I like her as a fighter. I think she's a good fighter. There's a lot of good fighters on this card. But they're all from the UFC, so they're all good fighters. There's a lot of cancelled fighters here. Harris versus Brahimaj would have been a fun fight. And honestly, dude, I like Carlston Harris so much that if Carlston Harris still wants to fight this weekend coming... Oh, he's got a rescheduled fight. I was going to say, maybe he could fight me and make an easy payday and beat me up. You know what I mean? For 3 rounds. That would have been kind of fun for him to do. Probably not for me. But, yeah. Let me know what you think. I'm hyped about this card. I'm looking forward to it. I will be live streaming during the card. But I might not be. But I probably will be. Yeah, that's the end of the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I think it was a good video. I think you guys are going to like it. It's definitely my Keon Kimura, Davison Figueiredo video. That's a good video too. I recommend you check that one out. So thank you guys. I'll see you in the next one.